So Surgeon's it's an international social media company built for surgeons and other, we'll say, proceduralists. But it's a place where we can go that patients can't necessarily see, that general population can't watch, where we can have conversations about how surgery's done, videos of how we're doing it, really have some of the deeper conversations into areas that we don't necessarily, the public doesn't necessarily need to see. Surgery is a dangerous business, and sometimes things don't always go well. But even beyond that, just that where it's a little more comfortable for doctors to be. And then we also have PAs and nurse practitioners. And eventually we're looking at it, expand the nursing fields, mostly for education. But if you think of it, it's kind of like a conference in your pocket. There's education, there's socializing, and then there's a lot of industry support, teaching, and going back and forth with them to help them develop new and better technologies. So it's been really successful. We just expanded to EU, UK, and Canada, and then we're going to be rolling out the rest of the world over the next 6 to 12 months.
Welcome to the Real Estate Mogul MD podcast. Thanks for tuning in and taking control of your financial future. This is a show where we not only motivate and inspire, we give you actionable real-world experience to help you live life by design. You'll hear journeys and stories from other physicians, investors, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Brett Riggins. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Jeremy Heffner, a trauma surgeon, bioengineer, and entrepreneur. He's the co-founder of SurgeOn app, a platform reshaping how surgeons network and share expertise. But he's also an investor who's leveraged real estate, strategic investments, and business development to build financial security outside of medicine. We'll dive into his journey, real estate investments, and how physicians can take control of their financial future. Hold on to your seats. This one's going to be fun. Here we go. All right. Well, here we are, Jeremy. Thank you again for your time and welcome to the show, man. How's it feel to be Jeremy today?
Oh, it feels good. Every day you wake up, you're above ground. I think it's a good day. So
yeah. Breathing, open your eyes, can see, can hear, can smell, can touch, can feel. It's a beautiful blessing. These little things that we take for granted so many times.
Oh, I know. You got to be gracious of what you have because you just never know. As a trauma surgeon, I would say the vast majority of my patients did not expect to see me that day, and it's rare that they're happy to see me. So you never know when that day is going to be you.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So there's so much to talk about here. First of all, let's just get a little background on your medical experience, your medical journey, where you started and where you're at today.
Yeah. So started a relatively, let's say, blue collar high school in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, and from there, I did bioengineering in my undergrad. Spent some time at NIH while I was doing that. Spent some time at GE. I actually did a Y2K upgrades back in the day for GE. And I was at NIH this summer that the Genome Project broke. So it was kind of a big deal. I had nothing to do with it, but I was there. So then from there, I got to medical school in Cincinnati. Did some cool stuff when I was there. I was a bouncer, a doorman at a club, kicked out some NFL players, played some rugby. But went from there to residency, did residency in Youngstown, Ohio in general surgery. Won a couple of research awards when I was doing that. And then I went to University of Michigan to my fellowship in emergency surgery, trauma, and critical care. So I'm board certified in general surgery and critical care. I got a couple of national research awards. And then from there, I started this app. It's called SurgeOn, which is a social media company for surgeons. And me and my two partners have been working on that for about 5-6 years. That's why we're out in LA right now.
Nice. So many pieces there. First of all, a surgeon, trauma surgeon, and a bouncer, those two things don't often cross, do they?
Yeah, no, I'm a weird intersection because I'm 6'6". One point I was benching 350, 400 pounds. I was just a big guy. And so I was invited to do it. I was a college cheerleader. I was a bouncer. I played Division I club rugby, traveled the country playing rugby while I was in medical school. But they're all things that people would ask me, like, hey, you ever thought about doing this? I just got asked to do a lot of stuff. And I just say, yeah. And I think another part of it was I was a nerd growing up. Like I was not a tough guy. And there's a point where I had to grow into my body. Like I had to do something to really face the difficulties and like challenge myself and take some hits, take some punches, learn what it was to quote unquote be a guy. But because I was going to get challenged in life, people expected something because of my size. And I never fought it, but I've never actually punched somebody in anger in my life. But I've definitely had taken some shots and had to lay some guys out to save myself. But never intentionally for that reason, because it was just too big and too dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting how just the size and not necessarily even the personality, more the size and the frame can often trigger those situations. Like, and you have nothing to do, want nothing to do with them, but yet they come and find you every single time.
Oh yeah, it is fun. I will say this: I was so big that most guys they would challenge the guy a little bit smaller than me because they're still big enough, but not they didn't have to face me. But every now and then you get that drunk guy that just want to you push your buttons, you trying to on or do something. The one time I took a blind shot was when I was a bouncer. This kid just came up, just hit me in the side of the face for no reason. Like that was just those things kind of annoy you. It's like, what are you doing? But that's just it comes with life. And I think that the other downside of size, most times it's a benefit. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's not a good thing. I got a lot of benefits out of it. But if you get in any way loud or you look in any way like you're perturbed, people think you're mad at them and people get really like freaked out. I got told like most people would never see me actually angry, angry. If they did, it probably would scare people. Yeah. But even then, like I would get called in the office when I was in residency about once a year, just be like, okay, Jeremy, people thought you were mad at them. You got to calm down. And it's like, thanks. Okay. I'll do it. And you really try, it's just what humans are. It's just something about it. And I've had to, I've lived my life through this worldview or this perception. And it's definitely different than other people's.
Yeah. Yeah. And I laugh, but I know it's challenging through time because you really can't do anything about it. And again, that the drastic differences in personalities versus that doorman, the stereotypical doorman, weightlifter, rugby player versus who you're standing around in the OR with. I mean, it's drastically different, right?
Oh yeah, like I got to tell you the story. So there's an NFL player. So I'm running the door. Guy comes up and he's like, I play for the Bengals. This is in Cincinnati. I was on medical school. And I said, I don't really care. If you guys make the playoffs last year, I'd let you in, but you're not wearing the right clothes, so I'm not letting you in. And he was like, oh, no, he starts throwing a fit. So the owner is also a friend of mine, comes out, he's like, have you got let him in? So I was like, all right. So I let the guy in. Like an hour and a half later, head bouncer calls me. He's like, hey, you got to come up, give me a hand. We got to kick that guy out. He's doing things, grabbing people. He's just being inappropriate. We have to get rid of him. I was like, all right. So we go up there. So this guy who plays in the NFL. No, he's a defensive back. I can't name names or anything, but we have one of these stairs. We went to walk him down.'s like a step below us the whole time. Uh-huh. And so he's trying to fight with this. The guy working with his name is Dave Dickey. He's a huge guy. He's like taller than I am, just big muscle guy. So we're pretty solid. Like both of us together, we probably weigh, 500 pounds. You could probably bench press 800 between the two of us. Yeah. I turn around, there's 2 offensive linemen standing a step behind me.
Ooh, big boy.
Wow. Oh, yeah. It was, I look at Dave, I look at them, and I was like, oh, man, this is going to get ugly fast. Yeah. And so we get to the bottom stair, the guy turns around, he's like, throws fit, finally push him out, and I turn around and wait to get hit, and the offensive lineman just taps me on the shoulder. He's like, hey, man, can we go back inside? Like, that guy's kind of a douchebag, but we just want to hang out. We're like, no, you haven't done anything, man. You go back in. Yeah. Like, oh, thanks. Turn around, go upstairs. It was the most, I've never taken a deeper breath in my life. Yeah. Yeah. Man, that was going to get ugly quick. And that was probably the closest I've come to really just getting my butt handed to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. And then big pivot into medicine now. And then especially in trauma surgery. I mean, there's just that's intense. So from the outside looking in as a patient, you said most, all of your patients don't ever plan on seeing you that day. Well, being in those situations, I know from experience and from all of those who you do see, thank you. Thank you for what you've done and what you're going through, what you continue to push through, because you do save lives and you are that light in the darkness on those days. So thank you so much, Jeremy.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. It's definitely a field that most people can't understand, can't comprehend. And, I said the clock that you have to judge your time on is the blood as it flows out of people's bodies. Like literally, I'm a professional in stopping people from bleeding to death. Yeah. And it's not just me. There's the nurses, the staff. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's a team of people at any time that's really involved in that. But around the country, there's probably officially about 1,800, 2,000 of us maybe around the country that are fully trained in this field. And it is a profession that it comes with a lot of emotions and a lot of very difficult and fast decision making that you have to make. And sometimes, even if you do the best you can, things just don't go well.
Yeah. I actually watched a trailer for a documentary yesterday, and it was interesting because it made me think of this, Jeremy, like even in every single situation that you go, whether it's a good situation or bad, you've got to raise your head and move to the next challenge, no matter what happened and how that affects you emotionally, like you're saying, emotionally, personally. It's like you've just got to suck it up and take on the next case, right?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I got another story here, and this one's actually a little deeper. And I don't know if it's going to be too much, but I would say the worst day of my life. The worst day of my life was it was an arson. There was 6 six people in the house. It was burned down because some other kid had thought that a person living in that house had stolen a cell phone.
Oh
So he
no.
burns the house down. There's four kids, a mom, and a grandmother. And this was after, like, I come in at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever I got in that morning. I'd already had to code a guy in the ICU because I was covering the ICU. And then I get this call. These six just black bodies come rolling in. And it is just, I mean, it's a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
All this happens. None of them survived. They were all just completely burnt. And it's probably like 10 o'clock in the morning by the time, 10:30. I look at my watch. I still have to work another 30 hours. Like, I don't get off till the next day around noon, 1 o'clock. So I was not trained, and none of us really are trained at how do you process this? How do you manage this? How do you go through it? And it's one of the things that the accumulation of those kind of events over the course of a decade, 15 years of doing it, it eventually will cause you to have some issues. And that was the thing I didn't really realize early on, because I always thought that you could, like, logic your way through, you could think your way through these things. And obviously, our whole career is based on our intelligence, our ability to take tests. Like, nobody really said that at some point the emotions are going to get you if you don't figure out how to deal with them. And eventually I had to. And it led to a point where events like that, I couldn't talk about them. They just shut down. And I realized how people that go through that kind of post stress, that, I mean, truly it's PTSD kind of thing. If you're going through it, you'll blind yourself to those events. Like, they'll affect you in ways you can't understand, but you won't even be able to remember them. And I had to go through special therapy and stuff, and then, like, all these images would come back, and I was like, man, what happened? It's because I buried them so deep under so many other images that I really had a tough time. Man, it was affecting my life, and I had to go through and learn how to deal with that, learn how to manage it. And as a big dude that works out all the time, like, I don't look like that guy, and so it was even tougher to go against that hyper masculine look and be this guy that has to actually figure how emotions work. And so that was really a complicated part of my career that took, and I see it happen all the time. The guys, men and women, that they see something pretty bad and it'll crack you.
Yeah. And it almost makes me think it's kind of like that plaque or that buildup that you don't necessarily know that it's there. And like you're saying, I'm the same way, Jeremy, where maybe certain things that happen to me in childhood or whatever it may be. It's like, I've taught myself to logic out of what I think I can control, right? But like what you're saying is that this other things are almost like plaque. It's like a buildup you just can't get rid of unless you go and see somebody or talk with somebody or find these ways to actually intentionally remove it by talking through it. And man, what a challenge too! Like you're saying with your frame, this thing that you're looking at, like a big tough guy, you don't have feelings, all of this stuff. But we have to have these feelings. We have to understand deeper about what's going on. That could be a whole thing. Thank you for sharing that story, by the way, because I think so many physicians struggle with this, and it's something that's not talked about a lot, and get trapped, and you kind of stumble into this burnout, and then in the worst case scenarios, it leads into situations where somebody decides to take their own life because they haven't been able to talk or to deal with these issues.
Yeah, in my experience, and this is one of those things, especially in oral surgery, I see more and more now. I'll give you an example. There's a lot of surgeons that people think are just assholes. We'll say, like, they're always on you. They're always, but until I was in the role and I understood the amount of pressure and stress they're under from a couple of things. One, the expectations of themselves. Like, don't make a mistake. Don't, like, everything I got to control, because you want to control as much as you can, because whatever goes wrong, you want to at least feel like you did everything you could to prevent the bad thing from happening, even though most of the time the controlling of it doesn't make a huge difference, probably in outcome. I mean, there's things that we know make a difference, the top 3, 4, 5 major, but outside of that, you're really just trying to maintain control because that makes you feel better about what you're doing for that patient. But the other part is you want that same from everybody around there taking care of the patient. You want everybody to be thinking about this patient because it's the most intimate thing you could do to somebody. I mean, you're touching them in a way nobody else will ever touch them. You're touching them literally from the inside. You're touching organs in a way they're giving you their 100% of their trust to do this. And a lot of people around you, and I'm not saying the nurses and the other staff don't get it, but I don't think they really do get it. I don't think they understand when that person sits in your room and they talk to you and they say, I'm going to do this for you. And you tell them, the patient, that, like, they're assuming that you're going to make sure that they go to sleep okay, the surgery goes perfect, they walk out of there and they have no problems. That's what they think, and they're asking you to do that. And so you put it on yourself to make sure you give that to them. And so those surgeons, a lot of times, they're fighting with, they want everybody else to take it as seriously as they do, because for them it's an emotional bond. And I don't think that the population sees them as angry, but it's because they want that standard to be here, because these patients that's what the patients deserve. That's what they're asking for. And that's a lot of where that disconnect comes from, that anger comes from.
Yeah. And it's challenging too. I mean, the human nature piece of let's say high performers, whatever profession that may be in. It's like we expect others to be just like us and can't understand why not. Like you're mentioning, whether it's the nurse or somebody else that walks in there, doesn't have that care and attention to the big picture
Yeah.
that you may be. And sometimes we project that on other people. And that's where that, looking like an ass or being an ass to other people can come across. Well said. Exactly. How in the world, Jeremy, do we relate this to real estate? Like, how do you pick up from the trauma room and say, okay, let me look at this deal. I want to talk about that last deal we just talked about before we came on air too. Like, how in the world can you pick up that kind of mentality and still be able to do a deal in real estate?
Well, it's funny. I think that you do surgery, do this enough, and you see enough bad news, you want to find a way to make passive income. So I think I'll always start reading real estate manuals at some point. And there is, I mean, obviously in the field, none of us are broke. Like nobody in the world is surgery. If you're in any way decent at surgery or you make some extra cash and you need to find a place to put it. So real estate obviously is probably one of the tent poles of good investing. And I think we all need to, if possible, go and, actually purchase property, commercial, residential, whatever you're more comfortable with. And then if you're not comfortable with that, obviously REITs and other, various mechanisms which you can still get money into the real estate market if it's not necessarily directly because the extra time. And of course, in the federal government here, my wife, she's a stay-at-home mom, so we're able to use the probably the greatest, I hate to say loophole because it's not, but the greatest
real estate professional. Yes. Oh
yeah, she's qualified for it. So we purchased two large apartment complexes, well, not large by our standards, 15 for one unit, 15 is in one and 30 in the other.
Yep.
We bought them about 6 years ago, and then we did remodeled the entire thing, redid them up, basically doubled the values, and then I just sold one to pay off the loan on the entire thing, owned the other one outright, and made a nice chunk of change in the process, which turned out pretty well for us.
That's awesome. So do you hold that same mentality when you're looking at real estate deals and rent-ready turns and renovations? I mean, are you the surgeon in the room, or how does that work?
The problem is like anything else, there's way more work to it. If you really want to be good at it, you got to be focused. I mean, I to some extent, my wife actually, she became pretty good at it and how to run and how to manage them, finding the right property managers, finding the right, just getting, at a certain level, especially the size of our city, there's just not a lot of people that understand it well enough to really manage it well. So you got to find that person and try to train them into the role. You could do it yourself, but I was so busy. I mean, I'm working surgery and I got my app and I'm really busy. And then my wife's also, she's got other things she's working on, but she does, this is her technical full-time job. So she's able to kind of stay on top of where it needs to be, but it's a lot more work than people realize. I mean, properties, if you want to be good at it, if you want to pay attention to what your people are doing, make sure that you're keeping the prices where, especially in the modern market where prices are moving up pretty quick. If you want to know where that sits in your market, you need to pay attention.
Yeah, absolutely. What market are you in with these units? Generalized market.
So in I'll call it cities. Some people call it towns. So I live in an area about city's about 40,000. The area around is about 250,000, and it sits an hour from Toledo and Dayton, and then 2 hours from Detroit and Cincinnati. So it's in the middle of a crossroad. There are actually a bunch of major cities, but in and of itself, it's where we build the tanks for the U.S. Army. It's like they're all built in our town. And
okay.
It's an old industrial city. So the market's not huge. And there was a gap we found kind of in the middle. So there's a lot of low end apartments. And then there was a lot of high end when they bring in professionals that have to have a place to stay, especially short term. But there was just nothing in that kind of middle. So we purchased these. They were originally low end apartments. So it's a $350 a month to $500 a month. Now this is 5-6 years ago. It's pre-COVID, but they were down there. And then we basically turned them into $800 to $1,000 a month, $750 $1,000 a month rentals. And that, of course, as you know, from a value standpoint, we pretty much doubled the values on them. And then we had some that were fully furnished, and we were putting those out for professionals coming through the hospitals, and those are a premium too, above that. And those we originally got them at $350 a month. We were charging $1,200, $1,300 a month for. Wow. So it allowed us to. Now the renovation is the other thing. I mean, we're just it's my wife and I. It's a small company kind of thing, and to renovate 45 little apartments is still renovating like 45 small houses. I mean, that's not to time it right, to get them to move the ones you have to move if you have to get them to make a deal with you, they switch the properties or whatever, so you can open up the apartments and get it done. Unless you just kick everybody out and redo them all, which we didn't have the capital at the time. We had to do this on a rolling process, so it's kind of churning through these, and then you have this difference of old level apartments mixed with these nicer ones to make sure that your clientele gets along, even though there's a little bit of a difference in socioeconomics at the two levels. So
Yeah. How did you find that first deal? How did you find that deal? Were these both, 45 units all in one deal, or did you combine two?
yeah, I got interested in it, and so I put my feelers out. I got a real estate person that I use, and I keep her when I'm looking for something. I just let her know that I'm looking for something. When it comes around, she makes sure to call me, and so she's always got her feelers out when I'm hunting.
Nice.
She keeps me in the loop in the local area. And then, of course, back then I was also looking at some commercial stuff, and I was using a lot of dot loop and all that. But or not dot loop, was it LoopNet? Is that what it is?
LoopNet?
Yeah,
Yep, LoopNet.
yeah, I use that a lot. But got off. Now I just focus on the residential.
Nice, nice. So what's next for you in real estate?
I'm actually looking to probably buy an old industrial building and redo it, revamp it for my app. So there's some good deals in our inner city. Where there's a lot of, I hate to say gentrification, it's really not gentrification. There's basically tearing some old stuff down and rebuilding the downtown. So there's some good opportunities for us to get in ground floor.
Nice. And before we leave here, tell us a little bit about the app Surge On. Why did you create that, and what does it do?
So Surge On's it's an international social media company built for surgeons and other, we'll say, proceduralists. But it's a place where we can go that patients can't necessarily see, that general population can't watch, where we can have conversations about how surgery's done, videos of how we're doing it, really have some of the deeper conversations into areas that the public doesn't necessarily need to see. Surgery is a dangerous business, and sometimes things don't always go well. But even beyond that, just that where it's a little more comfortable for doctors to be. And then we also have PAs and nurse practitioners. And eventually we're looking at it, expand to nursing too. It's mostly for education, but if you think of it, it's kind of like a conference in your pocket. There's education, there's socializing, and then there's a lot of industry support, teaching, and going back and forth with them to help them develop new and better technologies. So it's been really successful. We just expanded to EU, UK, and Canada, and then we're going to be rolling out the rest of the world over the next 6 to 12 months.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations on that, man.
Yeah. It's its own type of real estate.
Yeah.
The computer real estate.
A whole nother business. And do you have a company that's doing that, or are you still kind of like bootstrapped, or do you have employees?
Oh, no, we have employees. We're actually, the reason we're in Long Beach right now, because we do basically a television show for surgeons, and we'll be interviewing some of the key opinion leaders in one of the biggest conferences of our year. But we'll be here. We're in Harvard next month. We're at ASCRS and moving on. So we'll be all over the country. And then we're actually in France and Rome doing interviews later this year. Wow. So it's growing into, we've gotten a lot of really good support from industry, from surgeons. We have about 17,000 surgeons on it, which in the world of surgery, that's a lot of surgeons.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's pretty, if we were a society, I think we'd be the second largest or third largest in the country.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's really cool, man. That's
in
cool.
Our field.
So where can the listeners find more out about Surge On and Surgery Unified, and about Mr. Jeremy Heffner as well, too?
So Jeremy Heffner, MD, FACS on LinkedIn. That's where you'll find me. And then for Surge On, you go to surgeryunified.com. If you are a medical professional, that's like I said, nurse practitioners, PAs, doctors, you can go ahead and download the app, the Surge On app. You can also go to surgeonapp.com to find that download. It's on Apple and Android and web.
Very cool. And last question, Jeremy, if you could go back 15 years with the knowledge and experience that you have now, what's one thing that you would have jumped on 15 years ago?
Oh, you're talking about like an investment opportunity?
Anything.
See, I'm gonna be annoying on this. The thing about me was I did jump. Like, if there's an opportunity, I just took it. I bought silver, and it was $2.50 an ounce when I was in college. I thought my buddy told me it was going to go up, and it did.
Yeah.
But I think if anything, I wish I could have actually invested in 2008, post 2008 crash. If I had an opportunity, I should have taken more. I knew then, because I was in residency, I should have taken more of that money and just put it in, knowing what was going to happen, because eventually it's going to recover.
Mm-hmm.
And but not doing it was. Or I will say this: I was on the verge of buying mask machines from China the week before COVID finally got here. I was on phone calls. I had 2 N95 machines, and I couldn't get the wire to go through. But they're going to get shipped over here, and I would have had those machines on here like right as COVID was hitting, and it would have been huge. So I wish I'd made that deal happen.
Yeah. Very interesting. Well, hey, Jeremy, thank you for your time. Thank you for putting up with me prior to going live here. So I appreciate that. And thank you for not only what you're doing for patients, but in the medical world too, sharing those experiences, those platforms. And yeah, and I know that costs a lot in your life. So again, thank you for that. Thank you for your time today. It's been wonderful learning and sharing stories with you.
No, thank you so much. You have a good day, man. And let me know if you want to talk again.
All right, man.
Bye.
What a great conversation here today with Jeremy. Absolutely love the stories, the real life experience, just some of the perspectives that we tend to overlook. But I just wanted to throw some notes in the bucket today. Here are a few of them. Physicians need to think beyond medicine. Real estate and investing create options. Strategic investing isn't about timing the market. It's about seeing the long-term value. And finally, no matter how busy you are, building wealth requires intention and taking action. So it requires attention and intention as well as taking action. To learn more, connect with Dr. Heffner on LinkedIn or check out Surge On app on any of the app stores. Thanks again for your time and, more importantly, your attention. So this is the Real Estate Mogul MD.